Okay, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about floats. It was asked a few times by a few people. I don't think this is going to be a relatively long video because I feel like floats kind of ties into the same category as Ryan Winston comp. But the difference is obviously you don't have that shield to therefore close the space, and you have to be careful about when you engage and when you disengage. Um, and what resources you put into who. So obviously, okay, so the main difference between moats and floats, we're going to call it moats because I don't want to have to sit there and keep saying Ryan Winston. Uh, the main difference is whenever you're playing the moats comp, you're placing all your resources into your Reinhardt, and your Winston's kind of just like alone. Like you use him to just like be bait, in other words, and create space. Whereas in this composition, you can do one of two things. You can put everything into the monkey, or you can put everything into the D.Va. Again, it depends on the situation and whether your monkey can actually get value or who is contesting and what ults they have. Because if they, for example, Reinhardt has, it plays from play to play. But for example, if it's first fight, I think you can give all your resources to your Winston because they don't have like this Earth Shatter or anything along those lines. They still have the bash, but it's not really gonna be as efficient. Um, so I think in this situation, first fights and fights that you know they don't have Earth Shatter, I think it's fine that you can give everything into the monkey. But in fights when you know they have Earth Shatter and you need to burst down the Rhine quickly with these core 5, then I think it's better that you give the resources to D.Va. So let's just explain why floats is good. Okay, so floats is good because of one thing. Most of the time, say for example, they're going to contest the payload, right? Yep, they're going to contest the payload. And then the Zen might be up here, or Zen might be a bit further back, right? So the whole idea of this with floats is to get the monkey onto the back line, right? And place a bubble around, because it negates damage. Sorry. It negates damage from the Zen. It negates, you break LOS. So obviously the Helios was gone. And he's focused on you. And he's screaming for resources, because Winston versus Zen, if the Winston plays it correctly, the Zen will die. So that's why all of a sudden you have the resources coming back. Now most teams will funnel everything back, right? And they'll just kite. It really depends on the timing of the monkey. So that's why when you push the payload, like you have to be you have to be the ones to engage. What I would suggest then maybe is maybe go high ground instead. I would suggest go high ground, set up your players on the up top. Let monkey look for a dive. So say for example you guys could push up here. And then Zen maybe pushes back like this. I don't know. This is just an example, but say that happens, Monkey jumps in, and this is where these guys as a 5 need to pick their own target. They don't follow the monkey. They don't follow the monkey because it avoids the whole purpose of it, right? So let's just say, I don't know. D.Va used boosters and the Zarya used bubble on the Zen for whatever reason. We can drop down and burst this D.Va. Well, the Zen stays on high ground, but we can drop down and burst this D.Va, right? So we have our own target, and the Winston has his own priority. So let's just say the Zen dies. What can the monkey do now? Well, one thing, he could just join in back with the fight and help them, because he's done his job. The Zen's dead. He can just jump back in the fight, or if he really wants to, he can probably just kill the Lucio. But I don't think that's efficient because Lucio can just speed boost away and all that other stuff. I think it's more beneficial for you to just follow up with the team after that. The main target caller in this should be either Brig or Zarya. It really depends, because Brig can scout with third person, so she can be the one that calls initial engage, and Zarya is more of an enabler with this. I feel like Brig is the one that's gonna. Brig is like a mini Reinhardt in this situation, right, with a stun. So excuse me. And obviously, this composition is all about creating space for your Zen, allowing him and enabling him to deal damage while simultaneously pressuring their Zen. This composition works really well on like maps where you can actually access the backline. Maps that don't have like maps that have like high ground that you can control, maps that you can set up proactively with it. where you can get in situations where you don't necessarily need to use your jump to get to their backline. Whereas maps that okay, so I'm gonna directly compare the difference between goats and floats and why I think one is better than the other. Floats is more open, like you can do a lot more with it on an open map, like Route 66 for example, where it doesn't rely around quote unquote chokes. Like the only major choke here is obviously like this one, but you can negate it with all these tunnels, and obviously this choke and this choke. So I think goats is better in a choke situation where you can funnel and just push them into a room or into a location where they can't access the map. That's why most teams try to hold goats out on the platform to not give them the free roam of the tunnels. But then they give them free roam up here, which is this is just a rotation issue. They should rotate this side. If the blue team goes up on the high ground like this, you should just flip the map and just play this side. Put your Zen inside to make it difficult for their Winston to jump on him. But yeah, that's besides the point. Like, it's goats is all about the rotation to keep your Zen alive, and floats is all about trying to get onto their backline and cause chaos and split resources. Yeah. Another thing in terms of, let's just say for example, let's just run through a fight again about how it should be played, right? Let's just go through it again. Okay, so most teams will hide inside cave, right? They'll be inside cave. And they'll have their brig scouting, which is why most teams use Sonic Arrow. But they'll have their brig scouting. What I normally do is I would say D.Va can scout upper tons, and Winston can push the payload. If this moves. Hello? Okay. Okay, so Winston would then push the payload, and normally what happens is as soon as you touch the payload to a certain point, the brig calls, hey Winston, and then they'll speed boost on. In this situation, you guys should just get, like, the Winston should back off, give them space, and then because they're already shown, all of them are on the low ground, like at this point, they should all push out, and they should all try and control the payload from pushing and try to, like, stall you as long as you can. So in this situation, you want to get your Zen high ground. So obviously, you would obviously just all rotate high ground, because one, it gives your monkey an access point, so he can see the Zen. Secondly, it protects your Zen from them running it down mid, because again, you do not want to be the one that's being engaged on. You want to be the one that engages, like a proactive, more of a proactive composition. So they'll go high ground. They'll look for the Zen. Most teams, quote unquote, most teams will just flip the map. Like they'll just rotate the opposite side to you. So they'll rotate everyone down like this. But I say most teams because not many teams think, oh, we can just out-rotate them and play the payload, that they have to come to us. So they'll let's just do it with a basic standard setup of what I normally see, which is they'll just back up, right? They'll just back up. They'll give them point control, and they'll give them high ground control. Or their D.Vas will try and boost it into them. If the D.Va boosts into her, then you could just fucking kill her, or at least try to demech her at least. So in this situation, what should you do? So Reinhardt's further forward. Your Winston should be instantly trying to look for a dive in the backline. As soon as he says I can go backline, your team, the rest of your team, needs to communicate a target to go on, so that the Winston can then pull the trigger. So what an actual comm structure should be, okay, I see Zen, let me know, or I can go, let me know, and then Brig or Zarya will be like, I'm going on Zarya, and that is a simultaneous call to know that the monkey then has to go on the target that he's called, and then the rest of the 5 go on the target that they have called. So you're splitting the focus, and you're splitting their resources, because obviously what's going to happen is most of the time it will be Brig will go for Peel, Lucio will go for Peel, and D.Va will go for Peel, and it will leave these 2 exposed. Now what I think should happen is, if you're ever against this sort of composition, is your D.Va should just match the Winston. Like wherever the Winston goes, your D.Va goes. So if I was in this situation, D.Va could fly up on top, pepper the monkey while he's coming through, and then if he drops on your Zen, you follow him. Like I don't think you should separate. Like Brig can throw armor pack. Let's just get this right. Brig can turn around and throw the armor pack onto the monkey. But I don't think that the Brig should leave the Reinhardt or the Zarya. So I think it should be like this. This is how it should be, like a 3 and a 3. So D.Va matches Monkey, and then Brig just tries to protect whoever the core 5 are going on. So if the core 5 are going on your backline, the Brig goes on the backline, and so would the rest of them. But if the core 5 goes on your Ryan or Zarya, you need to help them, like just stun someone. And then maybe you might be able to turn that fight, because I feel like there's too many resources put into dealing with the Monkey that you always lose someone. But yeah, let's just say for example, blue team won this fight. D.Va didn't peel correctly and she just got demeched. So let's just say red team are going all the way back to spawn. I should have done this the other way around, red team attack, but oh well. Okay, so Monkey's job. Monkey's job in terms of this now is the setup. He wants to make sure that he can access the backline without using his jump. So this is where it comes down to this tank scouting. Like maybe he could play like, I don't know, he can stand here. No, sorry. D.Va can stand here because Winston needs to set up. So D.Va scouting. Your Zen's probably set up here. Briggs, let's just say, okay, so Briggs probably on the payload right now. Zarya's like in between, and I don't know, Lucio could be on the payload too because he can just jump back up there. The Zen needs high ground at all times. So if they go this way, the Monkey wants to try and choke them in without using his CDs, right? So he could try and hold the door. D.Va could rotate back down with him. The reason why he wants to not use his CDs is because he needs to get out. He doesn't have direct access to their backline currently because they're trying to come through his choke. Another thing he could do is either wait behind this billboard, and most teams will go like this. He can then, his team can then communicate, hey, they're pushing up behind, and he can walk up behind them, and then Zen should obviously be rotating away already. As soon as they call going left side tons, Zen should rotate away and try and play as far away as possible, wait for the fight to start, and then he can peek out. So maybe he could hide in tons here or something, and then team says, oh, they're fighting, and then he can peek out. Or he could just rotate down and play really far back. It really depends on the situation. If they go high ground, your Monkey can hide under tons, wait for them to push up on the high ground, for example. Again, this is using your CDs, but you have to be careful, right? So the Monkey should not engage right now. Reason why is because look where his team is. So let's just say this is the default team setup. No one can do anything to help him. They can maybe DM him, but all he's going to do is jump up, waste his CD. He can't do anything. You want to wait for them to try and brawl you on the payload because they need to touch the point, right? So unless you get clear, like unless they do this, like then you can jump the Zen. But the whole point of the quote unquote goats against floats is that you want to keep yourself as tightly compact as possible when rotating so that Monkey doesn't get a free access. So let's just say they're doing that. What should happen? As soon as the fight starts, like these guys should obviously be playing under the gas station right now because then they're out of LOS, and Zen should probably be hiding too. D.Va should probably be a little bit closer. So what I suggest the Monkey is wait for them to like contest. Maybe he could like walk up and soft dive or pressure them. Like maybe he could walk up, zap them a little bit, force their aggression elsewhere, and then he could jump away and reset. The problem is obviously then he doesn't have that jump CD to go in, and this is the goat's window to do something proactive. Yeah, because as I said before, if the Winston comp is being engaged on, they lack the resources to keep someone alive because they don't have that Ryan to take all the brunt of it because the Winston is flanking. This is like a really poor map to make a Winston play proactive on first point because of the lack of angles and stuff. Like you only really have like if they go high ground and then Monkey hides inside, and then they drop down and then they don't see you. That is an example of getting in the backline without using your CDs. It's honestly just a risk, right? Because they could turn around and then they could kill him. That's why he obviously has to make sure that he's outside of LOS, and then his teammates communicate, "Hey, they're pushing main now. They're pushing main now," and then they go, "I can go, I can go," and then obviously they can go while simultaneously he can go without using jump. Let's get that straight. He cannot use jump because I mean, he can. but he's also risking his life because he can get out if he doesn't use his jump, or he could use his jump to do more damage. Or be a quote-unquote distraction, because they could all turn around and deal with him. He could jump up and the rest of the team is brunt through forcing in, and then the Winston just lands back where he starts, and he doesn't have that all pressure around him. As far as comm structure goes, I think it's basically the same as before. Monkey communicates when he can go. Zarya or Brig, it really depends on which one. You can then communicate, hey, I want to go, I want to be shot caller, or whatever the case may be, target caller, and then they communicate when they want to go, and then the monkey is simultaneously going in at the same time. Okay, so how do you play around using resources, right? So let's just say this Rhine has Earth Shatter. What should you do? Well, for one, when you guys go in, you should, like, obviously hit the Reinhardt's going to look to shatter, right? So Winston pressures, the Rhine's going to look for shatter, and then you just bubble and enable your D.Va, right? Because you bubble the D.Va, and then maybe like a second or two after, you can bubble your Zarya and stand within inside the D.Va, so what I mean by that is, let's just say Reinhardt walks up, we speed in to stun the Rhine, we bubble the D.Va just as we're about to get there, and then about a few seconds after that bubble is popped, we can then bubble our Zarya and stand inside of her or close to her like that, so that, and then our Brig and Lucio just behind. Or another thing, we could, but we're using the stun initially, but be careful obviously about the shatter. It's not a quote-unquote foolproof method. It really depends on the positioning of Lucio and Brig, but you should be able to get away with that. It's just RNG at this point, because this game is very RNG in terms of bubble usage on Zarya. I hope this kind of helps in how to play it. It's legit all about Winston flanking, creating pressure, or isolating someone to force them to use resources on him, and then you guys collapsing on someone that isn't getting those resources, i.e. Ryan. Because if the Zen is being dove, most teams will give him armor pack and bubble, and then Brig will peel, D.Va will peel, and Lucio will peel. That leaves their Reinhardt open to be run over, or their Zarya. Preferably their Ryan, because he's obviously the one that enables them to have the advantage with the shield and take map control. So it's basically all about splitting resources, and then getting value from that Winston splitting those resources. But again, I say that it should be D.Va just mirror the monkey on the red team. The D.Va should mirror the monkey. And then Brig throws armor pack on the Zen when he gets dove initially. Like when he takes that first initial burst damage from the jump, that's when you throw your E on him, so that the monkey takes a long time to kill him. Because obviously, as you know, Winston doesn't do too much damage to armored targets. And plus, because Zen's passive shield goes over the top of the armor anyway. So, okay, well, I hope this helps somewhat. Sorry, it feels a little bit rushed, but I feel like this composition is kind of the same way you would play moats, except you don't have the shield to contest their shield. But yeah, see you guys next time.